As individuals, we inhabit a wide variety of spaces that, surprisingly, often prioritize artificial factors and not the humans that dwell within them. Yet, designers can create environments that are welcoming and bring the best in people. But what does this mean? And why are we not designing for humans? Hello creative people, and welcome to Sbjctv Design, the channel where we discuss the pros and cons of design concepts with the goal that designers like ourselves use these concepts in our future projects. My name is Alice, and for today's video, we will be discussing humanism. This is the first of two videos that will help us better understand who we're designing for. I consider this to be an essential concept because until robots or cats take over, most, if not all, designs require human interaction. Humanism is defined as a doctrine, attitude, or way of life centered on human interests or values, and it's an idea that, because of the influence of religion on people's behavior, did not become acknowledged until the Renaissance, which partially means that instead of God having a reason for everything, each person is responsible for the good and bad decisions they make. This focus on responsibility led psychologists like Abraham Maslow to question in what situations a person will become their best self, or in other words, reach the self-actualization stage at the top of his hierarchy of needs. But then, Carl Rogers expanded on this theory by questioning what social environments would nurture someone to reach the top of the pyramid. According to him, these environments would allow a person to be genuine, accepted, and empathize. And this is where design comes into the picture, because designing spaces for humans means that their behavioral needs come first, and aspects like appearance, function, or performance are second. To this end, understanding human needs is a very personal matter, because no one is better suited to tell someone what they need better than themselves, which is why community engagement is an essential part of the human-centered design process, where the goal is to design with a community and not for them. But ever since the last century, our priorities have instead shifted towards designing with and for machines. As I'm sure you've guessed by now, this includes the automotive scale that stresses people out through lengthy distances or monumental architecture, but also the fact that we design cities and buildings from an aerial view and not the user's point of view. Of course, I'm not saying that we shouldn't draft plans, but that we need to remember that a user doesn't care how symmetrical or organized your building looks on paper or from Google Earth, especially if it means that at the human scale, it's not a pleasurable experience to walk or transit to those apathetic environments. The thing is that it's not as simple as just designing for humans, because people often make choices for their idea of the average human, which leaves a lot of disenfranchised groups unable to act. Take the height of light switches, for example, an often neglected factor that disabled people or even children have a more difficult time dealing with by themselves. And on the contrary, we can't design just for anyone, because that will result in mediocre and generic solutions that will be less helpful for more people, such as a flexible room without kitchen amenities for events, or poor quality lighting for gallery exhibitions. We also can't forget to discuss how people willingly choose to see others as lesser humans. And before you say that you're not like that, besides racism and gender identity, people also undervalue the opinion of older or younger people, or choose to ignore the impact on gentrified communities. There's also the issue of contradicting priorities. This is when we prioritize human comfort and overlook things like climate issues or animal cruelty, to name a few. Architecture examples include constant cooling or heating, or how poorly managed deforestation damages whole ecosystems. So what disenfranchised group do you belong to? For instance, just imagine that you're unable to work because of an addiction. This forced you into a social housing building that reflects the stigma associated with it. This is because when it was designed, the team didn't actively consult those who would be living there, or aim to create an environment that would encourage well-being and social interactions. Instead, the building mainly pleases the demands of the neighboring communities by limiting the pedestrian access to the site, or increasing security to the point that it becomes about protecting the neighbors and not the residents. This stigma also makes you feel ashamed of your living conditions and prevents you from telling your friends about your issues. After all, you're afraid that they will criticize you and blame you for more than what you already blame yourself. I realize that this might seem like world peace talk, but the reality is that many designers are already taking steps towards a more humanistic environment. This includes reframing society's opinion on aspects like social housing, but also openness about mental health. I also came across a study that describes how changing environmental conditions, such as cooler room temperatures or access to nature, can respectively reduce proneness to violence and stress in prisoners more effectively than stricter surveillance. Designers are also using their inclusivity goals as inspiration to create novel designs that don't treat universal design requirements as a limitation, but as an opportunity. There is also an initiative called Lifespan Design that simply focuses on creating homes that are going to be used during all stages of your life, with the added benefit of quality experiences and potentially higher resale values. Still on the topic of inclusivity, in my previous video on appreciation, I quickly mentioned how sometimes people would make minor changes and try to pass them as innovative. A better implementation I found was when people completely rethink what a public washroom should look like, so that it not only has universal stalls, but it also challenges how people treat each other before and after they poop. Which makes me wonder if those locker room memes are gonna become outdated soon. And as smart communities become more common around the world, we also cannot forget to consider how excessive technology will affect the humans that live there. That is why some argue that cities must aim to become intelligent communities that comprehensively use technology and social networks to solve issues beyond what a gadget would achieve, such as using local businesses to revitalize neighborhoods as a way to grow the local economy, and not just relying on a Silicon Valley company that uses data-driven solutions to find what can be improved. So why do we not design for humans? I guess the real question is, why do we design from the point of view of a machine? Or why do we design for someone's version of normal? Whatever that is. The answer to this is probably that our priorities have shifted. But now that you're aware, it's up to you to design nurturing environments for the people that need them the most. The way I see it, we should design for all humans, but not for any user. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments. Bye. Thanks for watching another episode of Sbjctv Design. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more concept discussions. You can also follow me on Instagram for updates and related content. The music was produced by my friend 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗍𝗂. Visit him on Instagram to listen to more of his magic.